Market Musings podcast with Fairbairn and Russell. Hello and welcome to the Market Musings podcast here on Stockbox, where today our guest is Jason Brewer, who is the financial manager of Caracal Gold, which will very soon be listing on the London Stock Exchange. So Jason, welcome to the Market Musings podcast. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Mark. Pleasure to be back on here with you.
Great. No, it's good to be speaking to you on this podcast where we can get more of an in-depth insight into your past and what's led you to where you are today with the IPO here and the opportunity, of course, with Caracal. And to help me in that endeavour is, of course, my co-host, Kenny Russell. How are you, Kenny?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Mark. Thanks very much. And it's a pleasure to have you on, Jason. And I'm just actually sitting thinking about your location, and I wonder if Scotland's hotter than your location today. We're sitting at 26, 27, which is like unheard of in Scotland. Whereabouts are you calling today from? We lost Jason.
No, I'm still here, Kenny. I just don't want to admit that it's warmer in Scotland than it is in Kenya. It's not too often that Scotland get ahead in anything, but it's a paltry 24 degrees here in Nairobi today. So,
this will be a once in 100 years. It'll never happen again that Scotland's warmer than Kenya. But no, it's great to have you on, Jason. And as always in this podcast, what we like to do is we like to do like almost a deep dive or a potted history, if you want to call it that, into Jason Brewer. Really up to you. You can go back, where you were born, what it was like growing up, education, university, sort of early career, successes, failures, because failures are important as well, because your most life lessons are learned with failures. So that's my experience anyway. So really, maybe for the next 10, 15 minutes, Jason, it's just to give us a bit about yourself and sort of lead us right up to the sort of journey to Caracal Gold, and then we can actually switch focus to Caracal.
Yeah, sure. Look, despite my accent, and I don't know if you can gain where that's from, I'm born in the UK, actually down in the West Country. So I grew up there in Devon and Cornwall. So mining was always quite an influence on me. And my family have either been in the Navy or in deep sea fishing or in the mining sector in Cornwall probably for centuries, actually, now I think about it.
Camborne School of Mines?
No. The Camborne School of Mines was just down the road from me. So okay. I was always of the mind that the streets of London were paved with gold. So I headed up to London to study mining engineering. So, and I always got into trouble when we played rugby against Camborne in the bottle match. Knew a lot of people down there. So no, look, I was always interested in the mining space. One of my first jobs was actually working in a granite quarry on Bodmin Moor. So actually got my hands quite dirty in those days. And then I was sponsored by British Coal for a while. Ended up in Newcastle, in one of my vacation jobs at university, ended up in an underground coal mine in Newcastle. So quite an eventful, I guess, education. And then at the School of Mines, I went to South Africa, Canada, and Australia to work on the mines during the vacation holidays that we had there. And, that really set me up to continue on the mining side. I actually came back from Australia and went and did a postgrad law degree up in Dundee, Kenny. So, and then after studying mineral law and policy up in Scotland at Dundee, I headed into the city of London again, looking for those streets paved with gold, and ended up working with Dresdner Kleinwort Benson before heading to Australia with Rothschilds, where I worked for several years on the mining finance side, first in Sydney and then over to Perth. And Perth, as most people would know, on the mining finance and investment side, is really the home for a lot of entrepreneurs, investors, brokers, and a very big focus in Africa, which is, I guess, for the past 15, 20 years is where my activities have been focused. Either funding mining projects and companies from the banking side, or actually helping create companies and identify projects over here in East, West, Southern Africa, and completing the transaction and then arranging the funding and getting the management teams in place to make it a success.
Yep. Yeah. And what's the draw to Africa, Jason? I know it's a pretty underexplored continent on the whole, and you're not the only company that's now looking to Africa as the next big sort of mining jurisdiction. What's the positives for Africa, and indeed the negatives as well, because you've got to have a balanced view?
Yeah, look, I mean, the positives for me is that it's a continent with a number of countries where you can get deals done, where you've got people that actually hear and want to improve themselves. They want investment and they want projects to proceed. So straight away, you're looking at it with a positive frame of mind. And I'm always, I guess my background is I'm the eternal optimist, obviously. I must be to be involved in gold mining. But the attraction to Africa is that you're largely dealing in countries where they are seeking investment and they want it to proceed, and in a relatively quick time frame. Africa's got such a young population, and increasingly young population as well, and they need jobs, they need investment.
Yeah.
And I just find the attitude here, not just from the people that you're working with day to day, but all the stakeholders, government included, that to the large degree they want things to happen, and it's a great environment to be in as well. I'm certainly not sitting in an air-conditioned office back in West Perth, London, or Vancouver. I spend most of my time here. I've been here now in Kenya for almost a year to the day, and it's the only way to get things done is to actually get out on the ground and get in front of people. And you can do that in Africa. If you've got the right intent, if you're doing things the right way, then Africa is a country Africa is a continent where you can actually achieve that. Notwithstanding that, there's clearly challenges here in Africa, and I've run up against them in the Congo, in any number of countries here, because again, for every pro there is a negative, and it is challenging from an investor's point of view at times. Projects here can be twice the grade, twice the value, resources which make your eyes water when you look at them. But to get investors to move sometimes out of their comfort zone, to get involved in countries which aren't the traditional mining houses, mining jurisdictions of Australia, North America, South America is sometimes very hard. And, you've got to work very hard to attract that investment dollar. And Africa means you've got to work very, very hard. No question about it.
Yeah, I think one of the points you covered there, Jason, it was kind of key from the various podcasts that we've done with companies that are got projects in Africa. It's getting on the ground and building the relationship with the local people and the local mines department, etc. That was key to getting anything done in Africa.
Absolutely. And some of the guys I'm working with here now in Caracal, and have done in the past here in Africa, it's a team effort, and you've got to work and actively engage at all levels, from the local communities all the way up to the highest levels in government. You've got to actively engage, and you can't do that by email, and you can't do that by Zoom calls or anything like that. You need to be on the ground. And you need to be working with people that are proven in operating in these jurisdictions. It's an interesting one. I mean, if you look at the company I'm with at the moment here now, over 98% of our workforce is Kenyan. And out of that remaining 2%, I think I'm the only non-African. So, you've got to have the right team approach here. And that requires to be working and actively engaging with all stakeholders at all levels.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. So it does. Okay, so moving on to Caracal then. Give us a bit of history about how Caracal came about. Obviously, it's project based with killing a piece at the moment. Can you give us a wee bit of history of that particular project, and then how it came around to be IPO'd as Caracal Gold?
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, myself and my partners over here, we've been looking to build an East African focused gold company since early last year. And we were looking for an asset which wasn't an early stage exploration play. We were looking for something which had a little bit more meat on the bones, so to speak. So we were looking for the right asset. And this asset at Kilimapesa is certainly that in our minds. But more, I guess, strategically, it was a focus on East Africa. West Africa, we believe, is overcrowded. There's a tremendous amount of interest there, which reflects the underlying geology and opportunities, don't get me wrong. But it's a very expensive place to operate and very, very competitive. East Africa, on the other hand, has got similarly good and attractive geology and project opportunities, but the playing field is much, much sparser. So it gave us an opportunity to really, we got on the ground quickly to come in and identify projects and move quickly to secure these opportunities, which is what we did with the Kilimapesa transaction. In August last year, so about a year ago today, we struck a deal with AIM-listed Gold Plats to acquire that through an entity called Mayflower Capital. And we signed that, I think, on the 31st of July. And within a week, our team out of South Africa, in the middle of lockdowns from COVID, flew via Ethiopia and got on the ground in Kenya here. And, we inherited a project which was mothballed on care and maintenance for almost 18 months. And within a month, we had that back operating and poured first gold. So when we arrived, we had less than a dozen or so employees. And within a year, we've increased that to over 300. So it was an asset, like I said, was very attractive for us because it could be the cornerstone, the foundation of what we hope to build is quite a significant East African focused gold company.
Yeah, and there's a significant scale of opportunity with this particular gold mine. I mean, I think it's in the Guri Greenstone belt, which is quite a prolific belt in East Africa.
It is, and that's where the majority of, I guess, a lot of the colonial and artisanal gold mining here in Kenya has taken place over the past 100 years. But more importantly, I guess, for investors, shareholders, people that are interested, it's the northern extension of that Lake Victorian goldfields belt, which is what Tanzania has built its gold industry on, where you've seen Barrick and Anglo Gold, build some world-class operations there at Bulyanhulu, at Geita, at North Mara. And, I could name another half a dozen or so gold mines which were brought into production in the late 90s. So, it's that northern extension there, and it's been probably the least explored, although that's changing very fast. I mean, you've seen another, I call it a darling, a gem of the London market there, Shanta Gold, who have done very well in Tanzania with their operations. They acquired an exploration project from Barrick in West Kenya, and that's over 1 million ounce resource and one of the highest grade resources in Africa. And they're busy drilling that. I think they've got a third or a fourth drill rig on site now. So that's looking very good. And then immediately to the west of us, you've got AIM-listed Red Rock, who have been in country for quite some time, but have only recently started drilling their project as well, which has got about a 700,000 ounce resource. But, there is the potential to very quickly build up resources here, because I think the Migori Greenstone belt is equally as attractive as what you find across the border there, just 20 kilometers across the border there in Tanzania.
Yeah. And a bit like Red Rock Resources, you mentioned the 700,000 ounce JORC compliant resource. You guys have got a very similar number.
Yeah, we have. We've got about 672,000 JORC compliant ounces. Our grade is about twice what I think Red Rock have reported. So we're about 2.4 grams a ton. Our geologists on site, I mean, the competent person's report in the prospectus sets out that there's 2 to 3 million ounces, in his opinion, on our surrounding prospecting license, which is why we've got a 20,000 meter drill program planned to commence after listing. But I mean, one of the attractions we've got with our license on that Guri Greenstone belt, we're at the easternmost extremity of that. And the geology there is much simpler than what you find as you move further west towards the lake, towards Lake Victoria. It's less folded, less faulting. It's structurally, it's much easier to follow. So our geologists, some of whom have actually worked on the Shanta license when it was previously in Barrick's hand, are very excited about what they're seeing with us, because it's a much simpler geological structure there for them to work on. So, they're very much looking forward to getting the drill rigs moving. And look, we've said we've got a target of increasing our resource to over 2 million ounces. And, with this 20,000 meter drill program we've got planned post-listing, that will hopefully get us there.
Yeah, and obviously, in the middle of the IPO process at the moment. So how's that going, Jason? I think it's due to list at the end of August, beginning of September.
Yeah, we've ticked everything off. We've got a general meeting this week to approve the transaction, which will be clearly ratified by shareholders. And then that first week, that last few days of August, first few days of September, that's when we expect to be trading on the standard list there of the main board London Stock Exchange under the code GCAT. So, no, very excited about that. And I think the code which we chose is very appropriate. Caracal is quite a unique cat here in Africa, the Caracal cat, the golden cat. So it's a very appropriate name there. And even the company Kilimapesa here in Kenya, Kilimapesa means mountain of money. So we hope to prove that to be the case.
Yeah, I like that. That's the kind of thing you can you can tell people over and over again. That's really interesting. So it is how the name came about. And what kind of funds are we looking at raising with the IPO, Jason? Are we at a stage where you can sort of confirm the sort of total amount?
Yeah, there's 2.8 million of fresh capital coming in, 2.8 million pounds of fresh capital coming in. Pre this IPO, we raised a similar number from call it pre-IPO investors, and all of that has gone into the operation, and that's formed part of the expansion work which we've already been implementing on site. So that funding will allow us to complete further expansions, optimization work at both the processing plant and at the underground mine. And it will also fund the exploration activities. So, that it's not a significant amount of funding which we've raised, but it gets us to where we want to be. And obviously we're generating cash flow. We're producing gold. Our gold gets refined in Switzerland and revenues coming back here. So everything that's generated is going back into funding expansion work, exploration work. So we're in quite a good position, I think. And we're very careful with how we spend that capital. I think that's one of the key things of how we like to operate as well.
Yeah. I suppose you're in quite a unique position as well. Usually a company is focusing on production only because they've got the resource, or they're focusing on drilling to build the resource, but you're actually going to be doing both. You're going to be building up your production ounces per month, and you're looking to expand the resource. So it's like a double-edged sword almost.
Yeah, I think once you're producing gold, for investors, it becomes very quantifiable, doesn't it? You're producing X thousand ounces at all-in sustaining costs of this, means you're generating this much monthly cash flow. So then you can build in your EBITDA, your trading multiple. So it becomes very, transparent for investors to put a value on you. But with the exploration potential that we've got, the mine is on less than 1 square kilometre. That's the mining license. Yet we're surrounded by our prospecting license, which is another 56 square kilometres. where there are already over a dozen targets which have been identified either through historical drilling, actual mining. So we can very quickly add some quite exciting exploration results to the story, to the way we operate, and we're very keen to get that out because there's artisanal mining activity all along that Guri Greenstone belt, and they're typically mining anywhere from 10 to 30 grams a ton. So there's a lot of attractions of being in the place where we're at, and with over 20 million of sunk capital on our mining and processing facilities. So we're in quite a good space where we're at.
Yeah, and I'm just having a quick look at your presentation, and you've also got some tailings that you can get some. I'm not going to say easy gold, but free gold from potentially. You're looking at processing.
Yeah, look, if you go back to when the previous operator had this plant, their core strengths was in tailings retreatment, waste retreatment. So that was their focus. Our focus is very much on the hard rock mining. We need to have a sustainable production base where we know the grade, the recoverability, how many tons we're getting daily. There's an awful lot of historical tailings, even some of it going back to the colonial days. And the ability to source that in the appropriate way, making sure all the checks and balances are done on the sourcing of that material, how it's been mined either historically or currently. That does provide an opportunity going forward, but it's more, it can't be the fundamental part of your business. It's a bit of cream, I suppose, to add to the coffee, but there is a tremendous amount of those tailings materials there from the artisanals, and the artisanals are getting very small recoveries. And you can imagine if they're getting 30-40% recovery of 10 grams a ton material, you can imagine what their tailings is running at. So It is an opportunity, and one that we're looking to work closely with the mines department here in Kenya with. And there's a number of initiatives there that our CEO is actually pursuing at the moment there to ensure that we, again, it's a way of working with your local stakeholders, and a way of also improving the way mining is perceived and viewed in the country, and to make sure that it's operated in an environmentally and responsible manner.
Yeah, definitely. Mark, sorry, I've kind of been talking away here. I'll let you jump in.
Sure. Yeah. No. Well, you've been asking a lot of the good questions there, Kenny. So I was just listening and learning, really. The only thing that came to my mind, Jason, was why was the project mothballed previously? Did it just not have good management, or they didn't see what perhaps you guys see?
Look, I don't want to cast stones or anything like that, but I think that Goldplat's core business, where they've been very successful, is on waste retreatment. And they went into this with a view. Clearly, there was the ability to retreat tailings here at the plant, and for the first several years that they had it, they had a very small scale plant, doing some very small tonnages there, but primarily processing tailings. They then went into the hard rock mining, and they actually built a small, 20 ton a day plant to process hard rock. But they never, I guess that at the management level, the senior board level, they never really committed sufficient capital to make this a success, because they had other things going in South Africa and more recently, I guess, in Ghana as well. So the asset has needed capital. And, for the past number of years, Goldplatz had been looking for a joint venture partner to come in and do that, but just weren't able to attract that. We saw the opportunity. I guess we had a bigger vision for the operation. And we saw, particularly with the processing plant and the mining operations, a way to very quickly turn them around. And, we're already achieving 3 to 4 times the historical throughputs that they ever achieved. So, and that's not come from adding an additional ball mill or anything like that. That's just come from re-optimizing that plant.
Okay.
So it's those, I'd like to say, small things, but it's had very big impacts on the operation. the recoveries we're getting, the plant availability we're getting because we're doing, regular maintenance. We're buying, we've got the spares and replacements at hand. It's through the investment that we've made, and I guess through the cash flow we've generated and the funds that we've put in. There's been over 5 million that we've spent on this over the past several months in terms of improving operations and so on. And I guess, look, the fact that we've gone from less than a dozen employees a year ago to now over 300, that demonstrates, I guess, how well we've taken this project forward.
Yeah. Do you reckon then, Jason, that do you think you picked this up do you think it's a good deal?
If you want me to speak very honestly, I think it's an amazing deal. If you could see me now, I've got the biggest grin on my face. We've picked up an asset with established infrastructure in a country in East Africa, which is, the powerhouse. I'm sitting here in Nairobi looking out from my office over the city centre here. This is the economic hub. Nairobi's the economic hub here in East Africa. And I really think we have done an exceptional deal here. I think Goldplat shareholders, and Goldplat's going to be holding just shy of 10% of the company going forward, I think they'll do very, very well out of this. But more importantly, I think our shareholders will do incredibly well because we've picked up an asset, at a fraction of the sunk capital with resources that are JORC compliant, drilled and there. And, we've de-risked it to a very large degree over the past 12 months. We've come in, we've got it operational. We've continued to operate. We just haven't come in and done a quick fix and operated it for a few months, then stopped and tried to restart it again. No, we've been pouring gold every month for the past 12 months. And, with that in mind, I think we've got a great deal, over $20 million of sunk capital, both in the processing plant and mine. So it's not too often that you get that and an ability to immediately start generating cash flow.
Mm. Yeah.
So exciting times, and surrounding prospecting license where there's been very little exploration over the past several years. So it's like being a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a good deal. One question I've got, Jason, is what's the processing capabilities in the surrounding area? Are you going to be the guys with the only sort of processing plant within a sort of 50-kilometre range? Is that probably?
Yeah, there's an opportunity there to do a number of things. We're very focused here in Kenya at Kilimapesa, and there is a way of working with some of the local stakeholders, some of the local not operators, but miners, I guess, that don't have the processing capabilities that we have. So that is an option we can consider going forward. We like to think that we're in a very good position to perhaps consolidate the region further. And, we're looking at other opportunities here in Kenya and very close to our plant. So that's an opportunity. I know Andrew Bell very well at Red Rock. So, his license pretty much adjoins us towards as we go towards the lake. And, he's just started drilling. He's got an established resource there. There's many an opportunity here in Kenya. So when you're generating cash flow, the last thing you want is your geologist to spend all of it on exploration. As a finance director here, I'd love to be able to use that for other opportunities, mergers, acquisitions, consolidation in the region. And that's core to the strategy of Caracal. It's about building up a presence here in East Africa. And to be able to do that off self-generated cash flow, as opposed to going to the market every now and then, I think is something which investors will appreciate.
Yeah, that sounds very bullish. Hence one of the reasons why I've taken part in the IPO. I'm excited as well. Okay, let's step forward, Jason. Just maybe to next week. You've listed, and an investor asked you, what is the roadmap for the next, to the end of 2021? What, give me 4 or 5 bullets you guys are going to be doing to the end of the year.
Through to the end of the year. Look, we've clearly got plenty of updates there on the expansion capabilities and the increased production that we're going to achieve between now and 31 December. So we're going to be very excited with actually using the proceeds from the IPO towards that work, both on the plant and the mine, and then to fund the exploration activities with that 20,000 meter drill program, which I mentioned. So that will commence, and we'll be very pleased to start getting some of those results out into the market. I think you'll see us be very aggressive regionally in terms of expanding our footprint here. And when I say footprint, I'm talking obviously locally here in Kenya, but being so close to Tanzania and just 20 k's from the border, there's clearly opportunities that we've identified there. And Tanzania has very quickly turned a corner under the new president. So we're very excited by the opportunities there. And you've seen a number of other companies raise significant capital to move their projects forward. You've had ASX listed Allcorp they raised $50 million when they got issued their mining license. So they're busy pushing ahead and updating their feasibility. So Tanzania is clearly something which I think between now and the end of the year, I think we will be dipping our toe in the water. Actually, we may be jumping in quite deeply there, but I'm very excited about that. So moving forward, the next 3 months is going to be a great mix of production, cash flow, some operating improvements, exploration results, and the commencement of programs there. And obviously further projects coming in to meet the clear strategy we've set. So plenty to get your teeth into. And we'll certainly be keeping people busy out there in the market trying to work out how they should value us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that. And I must admit, I've noticed on your Twitter feed, you are very active on Twitter. There's always a lot of pictures and clips, tweeted out about improvements to the plant, etc. So that's always good to see. I like to see an active Twitter feed. So I do.
Yeah, I think. Look, I can tell you, there's been this much capital spent on the project, and we've got a plant, and we've got the underground mine, and so on, and that we're pouring gold. But the benefit, I guess, of those social media platforms is that you can put out these photographs and these videos of activity now, so people can actually see it. What do they say? A picture paints 1,000 words. When you see the scale of our activities there through some of those photos, through some of those videos, it makes it much, much more real for investors. They can see it. You've got tangible assets. So we're very active on social media, and we see it as a platform to engage more, both here locally in Kenya, but also to the broader investment market there. So I'd actively encourage people to follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and it gives them a better understanding of just what we've got.
Definitely. All right, Mark, have you got anything to add before we finish? Do we want to do the 60-second challenge with Jason?
That's all I was going to suggest, yes, the 60-second challenge, just to finish off. I mean, we have obviously covered the company in very broad detail there and the projects, but we'll spring this on you, Jason. And
okay, and I've never heard of this 60-second challenge, so I'm quite interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, sure. Well, the gist of it is that we give you 60 seconds. So we don't sound a big alarm buzzer in your ear or anything like that when the 60 seconds is up. But it's really like the chance for the guests to come on and really for 60 seconds, if they can, really sum up the investment opportunity in this case, Caracal. So what I can do is I can look at my stopwatch, and if there's a clock near you, you can perhaps keep an eye on the clock. And I can count you in if you're ready, and you can have a go and see how close to 60 seconds you manage it. What do you think? Are you up for it?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, in that case then, in 3, 2, 1, take it away.
Okay, Caracal gold production from existing mining operations and established infrastructure. Operations in Kenya, which is a very well-established, proven operating environment for investors. We are focused on production and development, but with existing resources, with existing infrastructure, and we're hoping to use that experience to acquire other assets in the region. We're looking to rapidly increase the group production to over 50,000 ounces over the next 12 to 18 months, and with a resource base of over 2 million ounces. The management team is very much an African experienced team, predominantly African, but that have got a proven experience and capabilities here. We've already proven we can operate in this environment. So we've been here for the past 12 months. We're busy moving ahead with that. We're looking regionally, and we've got the broad community support and local stakeholder engagement. So we're all ready to go. That's Caracal.
Excellent. I think you had a sneaky stopwatch going there because because that was bang on 60 seconds from my count. So well done. Very nicely summing up the company and the projects there in 60 seconds.
Excellent. Yeah. I'd love to say that I did have a stopwatch, but no.
Oh well, there you go. You obviously have a very good internal clock.
But look, most things only last 60 seconds with me, so that's okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jason, for that. And Kenny, any final thoughts from you or not?
No, I'm just looking forward to obviously when the
IPO.
news guys list, and then we can sit back and watch the news flow come in, and it'll be great to have you back on, Jason, and you can keep us updated and keep the investors updated with everything that's happening. It should certainly be a nice end to the year with news flow guaranteed.
Excellent.
Perfect.
No, I'm looking forward to it and opportunities to keep updating you as we go along. So it should be good fun.
Okay. Well, yes. Thank you very much, Jason, for your time today. We'll speak again soon.
Not a problem.
Thank you for listening to another podcast from Market Musings with Fairbairn and Russell. Tune in next time.